Washington, D.C., September 19, 2025. The Biden-era reforms to U.S. immigration policy were already a hotly debated issue in Congress, but on Friday, President Donald Trump took an even more dramatic step. Standing at the White House, flanked by senior officials, Trump announced that the cost of sponsoring a high-tech worker on the H1-B visa program would now be set at $100,000 per application. The decision represents one of the largest single-fee increases in the history of U.S. immigration policy, signaling a clear intent to reshape the way American companies source talent from abroad, particularly from India, where H1-B visas have long been the lifeline for skilled engineers, software developers, and IT experts seeking to work in Silicon Valley and other innovation hubs. White House Staff Secretary Will Scharf set the tone by framing the decision as a measure to defend the American workforce. He emphasized that the fee hike would curb the reliance of corporations on cheaper foreign labor while still allowing the best global talent to enter. Will Scharf said, "What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H1-B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it will protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States." The H1-B program, created in 1990, has always existed in tension between two realities: the U.S. need for specialized skills and the concern that corporations exploit the program to sideline domestic talent. By pricing the sponsorship at such a steep rate, the Trump administration is betting that only companies with a real need for world-class expertise will be willing to pay. President Donald Trump himself doubled down on the reasoning behind the move. In his trademark blunt style, he dismissed concerns that the new fee could discourage businesses or harm the economy. Trump said, "We need workers. We need workers. We need great workers. This pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen." John, do you agree with it? This was not just a policy announcement, it was a performance. Trump has long thrived on moments where his administration takes decisive, headline-grabbing actions, particularly on issues tied to immigration and labor. The president framed the policy as pro-American, while also acknowledging that the U.S. economy thrives on attracting exceptional individuals from abroad. The most striking element of the announcement was its potential impact on Silicon Valley and other technology sectors that rely heavily on H1-B visas. From Google and Microsoft to startups across the country, foreign talent has been essential to maintaining America's lead in innovation. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick underlined the economic rationale behind the change. Howard Lutnick said, "Well, they're $100,000 per year, so the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000 and then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train someone, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land." This statement revealed the heart of the administration's logic: make it more cost-effective for companies to hire young Americans fresh out of U.S. universities instead of bringing in talent from overseas. Lutnick's remarks also implicitly challenged one of Silicon Valley's long-standing arguments that domestic supply cannot match the demand for highly skilled labor. India has traditionally been the single largest beneficiary of the H1-B visa program. Every year, tens of thousands of Indian engineers, software developers, and data scientists migrate to the United States under its provisions. The $100,000 sponsorship fee now threatens to upend this pipeline. Analysts say that Indian outsourcing giants such as Infosys, Wipro, and Tata Consultancy Services may face enormous challenges in deploying their workforce to U.S. clients. Instead of a steady influx of mid-level engineers, the new system could incentivize only the most senior, highly paid talent to cross borders. For the Indian middle class, where families invest heavily in education with the dream of landing a U.S. tech job, the announcement comes as a blow. Already facing high competition and visa lotteries, aspirants will now have to contend with corporations carefully weighing the return on such a hefty investment. Domestically, the move is politically charged. Trump has long positioned himself as a defender of American workers against what he calls unfair practices by multinational corporations. In 2016, his campaign thrived on slogans about bringing jobs back home. In 2020 and beyond, immigration policy became a central pillar of his identity as a leader unafraid to confront the status quo. By 2025, with a new term underway, this decision represents both continuity and escalation. Rather than simply tightening quotas or introducing new conditions, the administration is fundamentally altering the economic calculus of hiring foreign labor. Critics say this is effectively a stealth ban designed to reduce reliance on overseas workers without explicitly shutting the door. The business community, particularly in technology and finance, is expected to push back strongly. For companies competing on the global stage, the ability to hire quickly and flexibly from around the world has been a hallmark of US dominance. Raising the fee to $100,000 could deter startups and smaller firms that lack the financial muscle of tech giants like Amazon or Apple. Industry groups are likely to argue that the move undermines innovation and risks pushing companies to relocate jobs abroad rather than bring foreign workers into the US with remote work already reshaping global employment. Businesses might find it cheaper to hire workers directly in their home countries instead of sponsoring costly visas. The policy shift also comes at a time when the US economy faces twin pressures, a strong demand for tech workers and a political environment increasingly skeptical of globalization. Universities across America continue to produce thousands of graduates in STEM fields, but many lack the specific skills or experience companies seek. Supporters of the fee hike argue that it will force firms to invest more in training US graduates. Detractors warn it could slow growth in sectors such as artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and biotech, where the race for talent is global and unforgiving. For Trump, the gamble lies in whether voters see this as a protective shield for American workers or a self-inflicted wound on the US economy. His comments, delivered with characteristic simplicity, sought to emphasize clarity over nuance by repeating, "We need workers, we need workers, we need great workers." The president underscored his belief that the policy would strike the right balance. Yet beneath the soundbite lies a complex debate about how America sustains its role as a global innovation leader while addressing legitimate concerns about wage suppression and worker displacement. While the announcement was framed as a domestic labor issue, it is bound to reverberate globally. India's government, which has consistently lobbied Washington to protect H1-B access, may interpret this as a setback in bilateral ties. Other nations, too, will be watching closely. Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia could all stand to benefit if skilled workers now turn away from the US in search of friendlier immigration policies. Global corporations with multinational footprints may also consider relocating research and development hubs outside of the United States. The fee could thus have the unintended consequence of hollowing out America's competitive edge, the very outcome the administration says it wants to prevent. In raising the H1-B visa fee to $100,000, Trump has redefined the debate over immigration and labor in America. The move is both dramatic and symbolic, appealing to voters who feel left behind while sending shockwaves through boardrooms from Silicon Valley to Bangalore. The statements from Shah, Trump, and Lutnick reveal a strategy that mixes protectionism with selectivity. Keep the doors open for the truly exceptional, but make the cost so prohibitive that only the most serious applicants make it through. Whether this strengthens American labor or stifles US innovation remains to be seen. What is clear is that the decision has already sparked a new chapter in the story of America's struggle to balance its identity as a land of opportunity with its desire to protect the livelihoods of its citizens.
What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H1-B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States.
We need workers. We need workers. We need great workers. And this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, you agree with that?
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. You're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land.